every conservative needs to square away with the fact that they're supporting someone who tried to illegally overturn the election in 2020. Every single conservative needs to come to terms with that. But content opportunity. Okay. We're going to watch this debate that just had recently on TikTok Live about the false electors. It's because they wouldn't give me like 5 fucking seconds to talk at a time. So I had to just unleash a bunch of talking points that I couldn't expound upon. I stand by the title of Super Bad Faith the whole time because they were citing statutes at me when even because I thought about this debate a lot because the first one that I've actually been challenged with any new facts and they were all either irrelevant or served my point. So I'm gonna rewatch this and try really, really, really hard not to get triggered, but I'm gonna get really triggered because it's so dishonest the whole time. Okay.
For Harris.
Okay. I got a dry socket. I'm gonna let y'all take this over. I don't even have the ability to really talk. So.
Also, it's kind of silly to do the me like picture in picture, but it's just both me. So I don't know what to do about that. So just enjoy the silliness, I guess.
I am voting for Harris because I think that the actions that Donald Trump took to try to fraudulently overturn the election were unexcusable and wildly un-American.
Before we get into that, Sam.
Already. Oh. Okay. Okay. So he tries to dismiss this by saying, "Oh, well, that case has already been dismissed." No, the fuck it hasn't. The superseding indictment was filed. I don't know why they pretend like, and the dude tried to hook me on it because he was like, "Oh, well, they filed a superseding indictment." But that means that the case wasn't dismissed. So he tries to get me with that right off the bat, even though he knows it's bullshit. He knows about the superseding indictment. He just wants to bank on the fact that I don't know. And in regard to the Georgia case, I don't think the Georgia case is dropped either.
So just want to let you know that happens to me too. It's not your account, it's the app.
Okay, because that's not, I've never had that happen before. So
yeah. So Renyalda, let's get to you. Cupcake. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever read 3 U.S. Code 15?
U.S. Code 15. Why don't you explain it to me?
No, it's 3 U.S. Code 15. Not just U.S. Code 15. It's 3 U.S. Code 15. 3 U.S. Code 15 explicitly lays out.
What is the point of bringing? Okay. Nothing. Okay.
What can and cannot be done on January 6th.
So what he's doing is he's laying out exactly what law he's being charged with violating in conspiracy to overturn the election. And I didn't know that. That's not something that I processed. Luckily, it doesn't mean anything because he tries to semantic bro me. Oh, it's so frustrating. When I say later on here that Trump was charged with assembling false electors to overturn the 2020 election, I don't mean that's literally the charge. I don't mean that the crime that he committed was made to prevent false electors. What I mean is clearly, because he lays out that the code prevents conspiracy to overturn an election or something along the lines, and assembling the false electors clearly falls under conspiracy to overturn the election, and he acknowledges that, I think, later, or I don't know if he pretends that it's a gotcha, that he's not being charged with assembling false electors, he's just being charged with partaking in a conspiracy that involves the false electors.
In terms of objecting to and throwing out slates of electors and presenting any alternate slates that were sent. So I don't know exactly what you mean by fraudulently trying to overthrow an election specifically.
Oh, and it's so frustrating because he says later that how could they have submitted an alternate slate of electors without the certification of the governor or the Secretary of State? That's the point.
But there is, in fact, U.S. code that actually allows for slates of electors to be thrown out and replaced.
So I can almost guarantee you that it doesn't say anywhere in here that the vice president can unilaterally throw out electors because, again, he's being indicted for it.
And then, keep in mind, they never, ever address the validity of the Eastman memo. They never even bring up what's laid out in the Eastman memo. I'm saying that they asked the vice president to unilaterally make the decision as to which electors are fraudulent, and then they divert onto whether or not alternate electors can be sent, as if that's a claim that anybody ever contests.
In addition to that,
The vice president is not being indicted for anything.
well, Trump is being indicted for trying to pressure his vice president to unilaterally throw out
Okay,
electors.
which
Those charges
case
were
is that?
dismissed.
They weren't dismissed. I don't know where you heard that.
Which,
I found out what he's talking about. He's talking about the charges in Georgia for assembling the false electors. And that was, he goes on to say, correctly, that those charges were dismissed because of jurisdiction, that a state can't litigate a crime against the federal election. So that doesn't say that he didn't do it. That says that Georgia didn't have the jurisdiction to bring that charge. But the federal indictment does include that as part of the charges. So I don't know what point he was trying to make. Here's what separated this particular panel, triggered the fuck out of me, and it was because they were particularly bad faith. Not only they weren't just making dumb fuck arguments. I'm used to dumb fuck arguments. That's fine. They were trying to litmus test me the whole time, and they would bring up this specific thing that actually doesn't serve their point at all and actually proves mine, but they were just banking on the fact that I didn't know it. Luckily, I'm familiar enough with everything around it to kind of feel my way through bullshit, but they were just banking on me not knowing the specific criminal code that they were citing to try and dunk on me. They weren't trying to prove their own point. They weren't even trying to go against my point. They were just trying to make me look stupid because I didn't know the specific criminal code. Oh, these people are actually pieces of shit.
which case are you talking about specifically?
The federal indictment, the Jack Smith indictment.
It was thrown
Okay,
out by
that
the Supreme
doesn't,
Court.
that has nothing to do with quote unquote fake electors.
Yes, it does.
Also, oh my god, I'm gonna pause every fucking 5 seconds. This thing saying that the federal indictment has nothing to do with fake electors. He's lying, and he knows he's lying, because later he says that the indictment lays out that the false electors were a part of the means as the conspiracy. How is a federal indictment laying out that there's a conspiracy to overturn the election and the false electors are a part of the means? How does that mean that the indictment has nothing to do with the false electors? That doesn't make... And he's just banking on me not having read the indictment, and then he walks back and says that they couldn't have been submitted because they weren't certified.
So which charge?
The whole electors
Talking
clause
about
laid
the
out
DC case.
Yes, which charge in the DC case is directly relates to fake electors?
So conspiracy to
Don't
obstruct
assume. Don't assume.
proceeding, conspiracy to defraud. I would assume that the whole thing pertains to it because
The original charges were dismissed.
Why would they
They
lay out
redid
the
the-
entire? Why would they lay out?
See, the one dude, and also there was like fucking 6 people in this call, all right, and only the one dude was grilling me on this because he had some amount of information he was trying to litmus test me on, but the other dude kept interjecting with bullshit that didn't matter at all, and the only thing he could say is, "Oh, it got dismissed. Oh, I've been following the case. It got dismissed." Banking on the fact I don't know the process of following a superseding indictment or why the superseding indictment was filed because of the immunity case. Oh, these guys were so fucking slimy.
Lay out the entire false electors indictment if it had nothing to do with anything.
Those original 2 charges in DC were dismissed, and they brought up a new indictment, a superseding indictment that's going to get dismissed as well.
Okay, so if you're saying that they
Okay,
dismissed,
so he's saying that case got dismissed by saying the original case got dismissed, and then they filed a superseding indictment, and I'm banking on that being dismissed too. So that it never got dismissed then, is what you're saying.
it's the first indictment, but they brought up a superseding
first
indictment that
2.
hasn't been dismissed, then it hasn't been dismissed.
It hasn't been heard yet.
Lordy. He's gonna start foaming.
So you're saying
But
that
the claim that he initially made is that it got dismissed, but it didn't get dismissed. And then he's saying, oh, well, it never got heard, so we don't know if he's guilty. That's a completely different claim than it got dismissed, which you made.
it got dismissed, but then the
The
superseding
first 2 got dismissed due to the Supreme Court ruling,
The first 2.
because that has a lot to do with what's going on in this one.
Okay, so are you talking about the case, Rinaldo? Are you talking about the case?
Oh,
that's in
and you
front of
can
Judge
hear
Tanya
me.
Chutkan-
I
Tanya Chutkan?
never do the like, oh, Christ, you know? You can hear, I am so goddamn mad. And you can hear it, because by this point, I've already sensed that what they're doing is just litmus testing me, and it doesn't actually matter. Because I had already looked up the criminal code, and it laid out nothing. Like it wasn't what they were trying to prove didn't mean anything.
Okay, that's the case you're talking about specifically. Okay, so we have conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding.
Oh my god, I wouldn't pay anything because I don't want to talk to these fucking pieces of shit. But oh my god, to get this guy in like a Discord call and not a TikTok live where he doesn't have the power to mute and kick me. Oh my god, because the strategy was to litmus test me, and then if I add any context to the claims that they're making, they mute me and pretend like I'm being slimy. But oh my god, if we had a moderator that had the ability to mute both of us and we could just have 2 hours to lay out everything involved J6, it would be a dog walk because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about the plot. There's a reason that he diverted so far from the Eastman memo, because it says in the Eastman memo that it wants to break the Electoral Count Act.
And conspiracy against rights. Now, here's the funny thing, right? The conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding and obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, those are actually going to get thrown out due to the Fisher ruling.
Right.
Okay, so let's go into, let's see here, 18 U.S.C. 371. That is conspiracy to defraud the United States. Where in that charge specifically does it say that he is trying to put in fake electors?
Okay, and this, oh my god. I imagine, I haven't read it, but I imagine that if you look at the RICO laws, it's not going to, like, that's a conspiracy law. It's not going to lay out everything. A conspiracy law is necessarily, like, vague. So it's not going to say the exact means in which they tried to carry out their conspiracy in the law. That's such a fucking stupid question. It's not that's the thing, is that it's not stupid. He's just trying to get me to fall into rhetorical holes. He's not actually making a point. He's not actually trying to push a point toward me. And he's also not arguing as to why he should have been allowed to send the non-state certified electors. He's just trying to fucking law test me. I'm not a fucking lawyer, obviously. But you saying, oh, well, where in this particular criminal code does it say that a president cannot assemble fraudulent electors? What point, and I say this later, what point are you trying to make?
I'm reading the indictment right now, so.
Why? Do you actually think that's important to the claim?
Yes, it's your claim.
And then you can hear in the background the host lady, she keeps going like, oh my god. It's like, bro, I guarantee you that this host lady, the one that keeps going, oh my god, I guarantee you she doesn't even know what an elector is.
Your claim was that he is being charged in D.C. for fake electors.
Well, he's being the fake elector scheme is part of the plot to overturn the election.
I think you're thinking about Georgia.
Okay, so I just want to let you know, he's not being charged with fake electors, right? They actually included the fake electors in the manner and means. So they're not even saying that the crime was the fake electors. They're saying that the crime was conspiracy and that he tried to use fake electors to advance that crime. So
okay, so in his own words, they're trying to use the false electors to advance the conspiracy to overturn the election. Then why, only like 2 minutes ago, did you say that the federal indictment had nothing to do with fake electors? Because obviously when I say he's being indicted for the fake elector scheme, that's obviously fuck. That's the one, like, I have the one tick in my brain where I can't fucking say that word. Obviously I mean a general sense. I'm not saying that's the criminal code he's being charged with. When I say he's being charged with the fake electors, it's a very sound jump to make that he's being charged with conspiracy to overturn the electors, or to overturn the election via false electors. That's not a distinction. That's not a distinction that's worth making right now.
it's two different things, right?
I don't think that is a meaningful distinction for the conversation we're having right now.
Okay, so then why did Georgia throw out the fake electors charges, the two charges involving the fake electors? Why did Georgia throw those out against
And
Trump?
he it's a good thing. He actually, his teammate fucked up because I didn't know. I don't know why. I didn't know why the Georgia false electors charges got dropped at this point. But then his partner comes in and tries to do a gotcha by saying, "Oh, well, it's because they didn't have jurisdiction." That doesn't say anything to the validity of the claims.
There was actually eight out of 13 charges in Georgia were dismissed.
Why did they throw out the?
No, sir, it was only 5. He has 8
No,
remaining.
no, he has 5 remaining. 8 were dismissed. Look at it again.
I've trust me, Crow.
I've been reading on this.
I don't need the infighting.
They didn't have jurisdiction because that'd be a federal crime, and states can't enforce federal crimes or indict on federal crimes in a state court. That's why.
And also, these pieces of shit, they kept... Why are we pivoting onto Georgia? If the charges got dropped due to jurisdiction, but I'm talking about the federal indictment where those same charges are brought up, why the fuck do I care about what happened in Georgia because of jurisdiction? I'm talking about where the jurisdiction is valid. So why are you trying to pivot me onto a different indictment where it's not valid?
What point does that prove?
But they did. What do you mean? What point? Well, the feds haven't charged him with it, and the state tried, but he doesn't have the authority to do it. So he must not have committed a crime if he
But
hasn't
the
been indicted on
dude
it.
just above me said that the false electors thing was part of the means to overturn the election. So he is being charged federally with it. You can say that he's not being charged specifically for assembling the electors, that it's just a part of his conspiracy to overthrow the election. That's fine. I don't get the point of making that distinction.
And you think that
Radio
any case is gonna be heard
silence.
before November 5th?
Radio silence. It's because they're just trying to fucking law test me. They're not making a point. They thought that I would just get so hung up on the details that I would forget what the fuck I was there to talk about. So then I ask, why are you asking me that question? Radio silence. Because they're not asking me for any substantial point. They're just asking me to fucking test me to see if I know.
Why does it matter if it's going to be heard before November 5th?
I mean, I think that was the whole point of the whole Trumped up thing, wasn't it?
They wanted to get him out from running for president. If he wins the presidency on November 5th, then what are they going to do then?
I don't care what the DOJ has. I don't think the DOJ cares about the election right now. I think it matters that he broke the law.
Yeah, they do.
Indicted.
Because they think about the election since he announced.
Oh my god, dude.
Till that point. So the man is innocent until proven guilty. He hasn't been proven guilty. So the man is innocent all the way up and into.
Okay. And then we fall on the, oh, well, he hasn't been convicted yet. That's fine. But then I didn't ask it here, and I should have asked it here. What piece of evidence would exonerate him? Because we have the Eastman memo laying out exactly what the federal indictment lays out. We have text message correspondence between a bunch of Trump campaign officials detailing the plot. We have the fraudulent certificates of ascertainment that they tried to hand deliver to Mike Pence. We have Chesborough and Jenna Ellis pleading guilty to election interference. So what possible piece of evidence does the Trump campaign have that could possibly exonerate him from all of this? And the answer is none. So clearly none.
The election. I know you don't care about that.
Do we deny that
I
alternative
deny that
electors
the man is
submitted their
anything but
slate?
innocent until proven guilty.
Do we deny that the electors submitted their slate?
Again, has anybody been convicted? Has Trump been convicted?
It's a very simple question. Do you
I
disagree?
need to bring up more. I need to bring up way more. And one of the commenters pointed this out to me. I need to bring up way more. That Jenna Ellis and Chesborough pled guilty to the Georgia crimes. They pled guilty, and they apologized to Georgia for those crimes. I need to bring that up way more.
that they submitted the slate?
I have no idea. I'm not a judge. I'm not a
That's
jury.
irrelevant.
The certificates of ascertainment we have, those are like what, just fake or?
You don't have anything.
No, that's irrelevant to the conversation.
The certificates of ascertainment that the false Trump.
That's irrelevant to the conversation. There's proof that they filed the fraudulent electors, and this guy is refusing to say that he filed the false electors. How is that irrelevant?
Electors filled out are public.
Did Trump
Right, and those certificates of ascertainment have no governor's nor secretary of state signature. So how can they be a fraudulent state document?
What a fucking stupid question. The whole claim is that they're fraudulent state documents. Are you claiming that fraudulent state documents can never exist? Is that what the this I genuinely I know what the point of most of what they're getting at is. I don't even know what point he thinks he's making with this. That it's impossible to fill out fraudulent state documents? That's what they're being charged with.
Oops.
And the one dude who doesn't know anything about anything going, oops, didn't think about that one. That's the charge, dumbass.
He doesn't
They
need
do
all
not
that.
have a governor's nor secretary of state's signatures on it. So how can they have been a state document?
That's the point.
They're not. But they claim that they are. That's the whole point. That's why they're fraudulent.
That's why they're fraudulent. But they were
No,
they were trying
again,
to
for
deliver
US
them.
Code
We also
15,
have-
again,
By the way, we also have text
Three-
messages of the people
Jesus
trying to
Christ.
hand deliver these false slates of electors to the vice president. We have text messages from Chesborough describing
So
that.
how
but
can
didn't
they
get to
be
them because they're
fraudulent if they're not even basically? I mean, you can go right on a
He
piece
just
of paper
described
any
it.
damn thing you
They're
want.
a
Doesn't mean
state
it's
document
fraudulent.
He
Hold
just
on,
he
I'm
just
gonna-
explained
God,
it's a state
that'll-
document that wasn't signed by the governor.
Okay. Dude, you got to get some fucking common sense.
Oh, okay. So he
And then she asked, well, how could these have been submitted as official state documents? And I say, well, the dude before me just explained that they weren't state documents. They were fraudulent. They didn't have the signature of the governor or the secretary of state. And I explained that they tried to hand deliver them. And we have text messages from Chesborough corroborating this. And then she says, wow, you need to get some common sense. Will common sense make me realize that Chesborough didn't actually send those text messages? Like, will common sense tell me that Mike Pence's secretary testifying that they got the false electors and that Mike Pence told him not to hand them to him? Is common sense gonna make me think that didn't happen?
he just described it, that it was a state document that
So
didn't
is a
get certified by
check.
the governor.
So
And
if
then
I,
this guy comes in and cuts me off and then pretends like I'm cutting him off and then they mute me.
if I write a check to you, is my check valid without my signature?
No, but I'm saying
okay,
that these
stop,
electors aren't.
stop.
I'm saying that these electors aren't
God
certified.
damn.
And he's trying to railroad me, but what I'm saying is, and this example is so brilliant because it flies in the face of everything that he says. If I file a check with your signature on it, then that is just me filing a check. If I file a check with no signature on it, or I file a check with a forged signature on it, and if I file the check with no signature on it and I claim that it's an official check, that's fraudulent. That's not. But I engage in a pressure campaign to pressure the bank teller to accept my fraudulent check. That's criminal. So the hypothetical that this dude gave just flew in the face of everything they were just arguing with me for the past 10 minutes.
Damn,
You're
bro.
proving my
Like,
point.
these
You're gonna
motherfuckers,
start
all they
filming.
do is they stand over things, right? And they fucking, like, do everything, right? Like, they don't let anybody else talk. They just fucking try to steamroll.
He said, oh, they don't let anybody else talk. They just steamroll. Brother, I'm in a 1v6 TikTok live where you guys keep muting me, and you interrupted me. So how am I the one steamrolling? I'm being 1v6'd where you keep muting me.
Roll the conversation. They don't, like, just go one point at a time. Like,
Well,
I ask you a
it's proving
question. Do
the
you
point.
agree,
And also,
yes or no?
oh my god, I'm pausing every fucking 5 seconds because everything they say is so fucking stupid. They're saying, oh, they can't just go one point at a time. I'm arguing that these things weren't certified by the state, and that's why they're fraudulent, and then you try and take me into a hypothetical about the impossibility of filing a fraudulent check. And you won't let me expound upon my answer beyond a yes or no.
Yes, no,
Right.
okay,
No,
cool.
I
Let's go
wouldn't
to
be
the
able to
next
cash a
point.
check from you that doesn't have your
Dude,
signature.
stop. You have to fucking stop.
And then
it.
I answer directly, no, I can't cash a check from you that doesn't have your signature. And then they say, kid, stop. And then they mute me.
Stop.
This is what TDS does to people. They don't fucking understand common sense.
They don't at all.
And why?
And then this dude's sucking up to the host by reusing her word. Like, ha, they just don't have common sense, right, host?
You're so fucking hyped up, dude. Bring it down, fucking.
Because I don't
So,
like that you guys are supporting
again-
a guy who tried to overturn
Again.
it.
Doesn't matter what you like.
There it is.
We don't care if you like it or not.
And then it ultimately comes down to, oh, well, I don't like that you guys are supporting an insurrectionist. And any fucking American would agree that supporting an insurrectionist to become the president again is obviously fucking stupid. But then they're like, well, I don't care what you like. Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
So just to be clear,
Oh, okay.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
You just hear him? I don't.
I have a right to vote.
Like,
What I
if you're
choose to.
voting for
I call
somebody
it- I
else,
call it-
so he's up here having a fucking tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
You are fucking
I
crazy.
call it a full slate of electors. You guys agree that it wasn't certified, and then you're coming at me for saying it's not a
There
state.
is no-
That's why I said from the beginning.
Again, there is no such thing as false electors because 3 U.S. Code 15 very clearly states
What's up? if just because U.S. Code 315 or whatever the fuck says that alternate electors are valid, that doesn't mean that everything that purports to be an alternate slate of electors without a state signature is valid. And then, again, it still doesn't touch on the plot that Donald Trump was trying to pressure his vice president to pick his electors unilaterally by subverting the Electoral Count Act and subverting the objection process.
And I quote, any alternate result purporting to be from the state must be considered.
Purporting to be from the state, dumb fuck. Not just anything claiming to be electors. So when Trump filed electors that didn't get certified by the state, and you're saying, well, actually, under the act, it says that any ballot pertaining to be from the state needs to be counted. These weren't purporting to... They were purporting to be from the state, but without the signature. What the fuck else do you call that but fraudulent?
I'm sorry that you didn't learn this in 6th grade civics, but I
This
did,
isn't
and
an
I actually pay
alternate- this is
attention
an
to my
alternate slate.
Constitution.
Right? That's why I'm not calling it an alternate slate.
That is literally what an alternate slate is.
But
An
Trump didn't
alternate
send
slate.
alternate slates.
An
He sent
alternate
false
slate.
slates.
Oh my god, bro! This is fucking useless.
It is
I'm
useless.
sorry,
All he wants
I
to- all he
can't,
wants
I
to
can't yell
do-
tonight.
You're pigeonholed
I'm
what
trying
Trump
not
sent
to- and
into
I'm
an
trying not to
alternate
yell
slate.
at
Because he can't railroad me down the fucking... Because he can't railroad me down his dumb fuck logic train. Because I can't give context to literally a single answer. They kick me.
And I'm not trying not to get.
No,
Fuck
I'm
that,
saying
dude.
I can't yell.
No, I know,
can't yell.
and I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna let him.
I'm not gonna let him
Do
do
we have
this
any
to
other
me.
options in the queue?
No, don't let him do it to you. That's what I'm telling you. Don't let him do it to you.
This is
Here,
ridiculous.
let me.
Let's
no.
try something else.
He
Let's try
can't
something else.
understand simple concepts.
And then
Like,
they kick
if
me.
I do not
Says, I can't understand simple concepts when he laid out exactly how the slates are fraudulent, but then for some reason thought that fraudulent slates he can't even theoretically conceive of a slate being fraudulent. This is the best faith conversation I will have about the false electors because it's completely unjustifiable. But every conservative needs to square away with the fact that they're supporting someone who tried to illegally overturn the election in 2020. Every single conservative needs to come to terms with that. But that's a very uncomfortable reality to come to terms with. Some of them bite the bullets, and I respect them a hell of a lot more than anybody else, but some of them need to lie and gaslight and fucking be bad faith out the ass in order to make me look stupid for understanding the plot better than they do. They need to come to terms with they are supporting a guy that tried to illegally overturn the election. That's just it. That's it. There's almost no arguing the evidence of it. Read the Eastman memo. It says that they diverge from the processes laid out in the Electoral Count Act. That's a federal law. They're trying to break federal law to instate Donald Trump as president. And Donald Trump doesn't deny that he did this. He just says that he had every right to interfere with the election. So they need to come to terms with that, and some people don't like that, so they decide to lie. And they decide to lie and act bad faith in order to help them sleep at night. It's really annoying. Okay, but I'm done yelling. My throat hurts, and I'm tired. So...